Hey everybody, Joe here. Welcome to a rainy, cold day in Seattle. Uh, as I'm sure the rest of you are aware, all over the world, everything is basically shut down and ground to a halt. So I'm working from home as best I can and using the opportunity to also do some projects on the Spider that I've been trying to get done all winter, but now with suddenly a lot of time on my hands, I am able to start popping these things out one at a time. So let's go through a few things that I've been able to either start or wrap up on the Spider. We'll start with first and foremost, we installed a stainless steel header. We did a catalytic converter delete, so it's stainless header, stainless collector going into basically just the mid muffler, which is about here, and then that's exiting through the center line Stinger type exhaust. Sounds fantastic. It's not obnoxious. At cruise, you can have a conversation. It sounds good, but the nice thing is when you put your foot into the gas and when you pull away from a traffic light or a stop sign, it sounds like a proper vintage sports car should. So that was the big thing we did under the hood was the header install. Wasn't really that difficult, just took a few hours to do. The biggest thing was just getting the center section of pipe welded correctly so everything lined up. But that was once that was all taken care of, it's been great. I've been meaning to tackle adding an electric fan and getting rid of the belt-driven fan. I might still do that before summer gets here because, like I said, all of our normal car shows and our Saturday morning coffee gatherings and things like that we like to do with the cars, those are now all on hold pending all this virus stuff. So I might have a little bit more time to do a few more projects. Interior-wise, everything is basically the same, except that we've decided to make new door cards. So here's the factory door card on a mid-80s Spider. And what we've ended up with is something like this. So we wanted something very vintage, classic, and simple. Just very simple, sleek, minimalistic. So all you have is you have a door pull, which is just a nice leather strap with some chrome hoops and stainless steel bolts. And then, of course, just your door release, which is factory. But this just, we got some cardboard. I'll show you in a minute here. So it's just some of this material. You can order this online. This is just door cardboard. It does have a water resistance to it. Then, of course, some felt to add some padding. And then, of course, the material itself. And this is just vinyl. And this is what would be on the factory door card. Here's the factory door card here. This isn't leather, it's vinyl. But it's just obviously been sun-baked and cooked, so we swapped it out. And I still, of course, as you noticed, still need to do the passenger side. But the driver's side is done, and I like that look a lot. It looks a lot more vintage, classic, sleek, and simple, which is what I want with the Spider. Spiders don't need to be overly complicated. And then the big thing I did, which I wasn't sure I was going to get to, but I did, and I've been tinkering with it for a few weeks, is I wanted this car, I've been trying to get it to look more and more vintage and like the early 70s cars, the S2 cars. So I split the front bumper. So if you look at some images of early 70s Spiders, they would have had chrome half bumpers on either side. And I really like that look. And of course, with a S3 Spider or a mid-80s Spider, there's no way to incorporate those early 70s bumpers because these 80s bumpers come all the way around to the wheel arch, whereas on the early 70s cars, they would stop right about here under the headlight. So what I decided to do was basically I just got my metal cutter, cut the bumper in half, and then just went from there. So I've been messing with this for about a month on and off, and I've been able to finish this week just because I've had added time. But as you can see, if you look at some images, especially of US spec early 70s cars, I've gotten it pretty close. I sourced the chrome shield or grill. That's a reproduction part. That was sourced from Kevin at EB Spares in England. And then the bumpers, the bumper halves, of course, they're just factory with quite a bit of modification and metal work. I had a little bit of help of a fab shop that I deal with to do some. Once I did the major cutting, they did some finish work just to clean them up, so I had good, clean, sharp edges. And then from there, what I did was very high tech. Basically just made a template out of some cardboard and just used some like Gorilla duct tape type stuff, so it was really stuck on there. And I just bent it and shaped it. And let's see, this would have been bent originally. Yeah. So it just bent it and shaped it how the piece of metal, the end plate that I was making, how that needed to be bent. And then from there, I just got some thin aluminum sheet from a hardware store. And then I just cut it with some snips to size. Obviously, that's the size I needed. And then basically just trimmed it and shaped it by hand. A lot of it's, kind of shaping it over your knee. And then using a hammer to kind of pound the edges flat again, stretching it, whatever you need to do. But a lot of it was just hand shaping and eyeballing. And just getting it basically to fill in that end plate area. And then after that, it was just a matter of painting it the black, so it matches the black on the front of the bumper, so it wraps around. And then basically just using some good, I used some flexible rubber sealant and filled in the little gaps and edges that were there because it wasn't a perfect fit, so I had to kind of massage it as best I could. And then use some good joint sealer, rubberized joint sealer. So it's got some flex to it. So if things bend and move in the wind, whatever, things, they won't crack and break. They'll bend and move. But as you can see, the result is pretty good, I think. It's pretty close to what I envisioned when I started it. And, I've put some pictures on, say, like the Alfa BB in the Facebook Spider group. And generally, people really like what we did here. Trying to stay very faithful to the original 80s design with the bumper, but giving it that early 70s flair with the split bumper and the proper chrome shield that that we all really love on the Spiders. And unfortunately, as you got into the 80s, things became more and more plastic and rubber. So so that was something I had thought about doing. And one day I grabbed my cutter, my aluminum grinder, put a cutting disc on it, took the bumper off, and just started going. And then at that point, it was just point of no return. I had to finish it. So there was a couple nights I was doubting it, and I was shopping for going on eBay trying to find replacement bumpers. But I decided to see it through, and the results are pretty good. I'm happy with it. It definitely gives this Spider in particular a unique look, paying homage, like I said, to the earlier cars. And like I said, and if you do Google search like 1973 Alfa Romeo Spider, you'll see on some of the US spec cars these bumpers actually came out pretty far. So in some respects, this is very, very close to what you would have seen. And unfortunately, these bumpers cannot be pushed in You can modify the brackets, and you can collapse the little shock, the metal shock absorber that they're mounted to. But if you do push them in, the only problem is, like I said, they do line up with the wheel arch. So then you end up pushing them past the wheel arch, and then you get into having to modify the bumpers on the ends. And I just didn't want to mess with that. Maybe next winter, but for this summer, I just wanted to get this done so it was at least drivable, and I was happy with it. And then, of course, I might come up with some new ideas over the winter, or over the summer for next winter. But that's where we're at for now. So just a quick update. If you have any questions about anything we did or how we did it or how to do it, I'm more than willing to answer them. Anything I could do to help people, especially, some of these cars, some people get kind of freaked out when people modify their cars. But, with these mid-80 Spiders, you're talking about cars that are worth between 10 and, or should I say, $5,000 and $10,000 US dollars. So they're not $1 million cars. And I think if you keep them pretty close to what a faithful representation of a Spider should be, its essence, then I think it's all good. I don't think people should freak out about that. So anyway, that's it. If you have any comments, questions, anything like that, shoot them over, and I'll do my best to get to them. Thanks. Bye.